It's hard enough to get the message about Ebola and the right thing to do to the most vulnerable of people, but then there's a whole other component to it. What do you do with the people who are left behind? And especially, what do you do if they're children? Her name is Esther, and that day at the ceremony with her parents gone, no one was there to take her home or anywhere. Still weak from what Ebola did, but virus-free, of no threat to anyone. Nurses keep her well. What they'd love to know is if she has a brother or sister. She hasn't opened up about that yet.
That's part of a report from our senior correspondent, Adrienne Arsenault, from almost exactly 1 year ago Thursday. She delivered so many memorable reports from Liberia last year as she covered the Ebola crisis for CBC News. She and her team last night honored with a prestigious international Emmy Award. Here's a little shot of the three of them, the team that put that incredible coverage together. Adrienne's on the right, you know her. On the far left, videographer Jean-François Bisson. And in the middle, producer extraordinaire Stephanie Genzer. And we're so proud of the work they do every day and so pleased that they've been recognized internationally and that they're up early after a night of celebration, to be with me this morning. So there's Adrienne in the middle, there's Stephanie on the right of your screen, and Jean-François, the three international Emmy winners for CBC News. Hold up that trophy and let me say, number one, congratulations to the three of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
It's so exciting. Okay, we have a couple of minutes together. I don't know if it was all a blur to you last night, the minute your name was announced, that in case you actually missed it, here's a little bit of tape, so follow along. Here's the exact moment of your win.
And the Emmy goes to CBC News, The National, The Ebola Effect.
Accepting the Emmy, Adrienne Arsenault, reporter.
So you see it all there. It all looks so glamorous and fabulous. And Adrienne called up, and you all went up on stage, but Adrienne was the one accepting it. Just tell me about that moment, Adrienne, when you heard your name.
I think we were like, what? Are you kidding me? I don't think. Yeah, we were so sure. It's such an honor to be nominated, which it was, and I think we were ready to go home. And it was, it was wonderful. It was so surreal because we were talking that it really was a year ago. Right now we were there.
You used that word last night, how it was surreal. Surreal to be honored in this way for a story of such magnitude, a tragedy of such magnitude. I'll just to get Adrienne on that for just a second, and I'll get Steph to jump in. But on the surreal nature of that, Adrienne?
Well, just to think about where we were a year ago and how struck we were then at the enormity of what people were going through. I mean, we were saying it's one of those weird stories where it's a disaster, but it's very quiet. A lot of disasters are so loud and there's so much chaos, but people were so sick, and they were so deliberate in their movements, and everything was so calm and respectful and deeply sad. And then, flash forward a year and everybody's all dressed to the nines, and it was a very odd but really lovely moment, and really lovely moment for public broadcasting. Last night, Heather, public broadcasters all over North America cleaned up, and it was, we're proud to work for CBC, and we were proud to sort of carry that flag.
Isn't that wonderful? We played some of the reporting that you did at that time, that extraordinary body of work. Steph, bring you in on that. For you, what were the highlights of the stories that you were able to produce there?
Oh, it was definitely meeting the people. We're very lucky, the three of us. We've traveled to some pretty amazing places around the world, but this was a place where not a lot of journalists were traveling to, and full credit to CBC for having the courage to send us, first of all. But for, this was an honor last night, but the honor for us was really to bring the stories of these people to Canada. The people of Liberia, and also the so many healthcare workers who were there putting their own lives at risk, doing the work they do. So to be able to tell those stories, a real honor for us.
And Jean-François, JF as we call you here, those who know you, have the privilege of knowing you and working with you. You are the one who captured the extraordinary images we saw in Adrienne's and Stephanie's work. For you, a year later, is there a lasting image that you're happy to have honored?
Lasting image, there's so many images there. I think, I'm going to remember so much about, covering this story. And, working with this wonderful team here, I think this is going to be a good lasting image for me for sure.
It's a great image for me looking at you as you are honored in this way. Steph, I'll tell you what was one of the lasting images for us, our morning team, as we discussed it this morning. It's how one of your reports ended. I'm going to play that little bit of tape too, and then we'll talk about this. So let's watch this.
As much to make the point to the world as to comfort her, there's this: a touch. At this moment in West Africa, when it seems no one touches anyone else, for them to lay hands on Jenna is to tell her she's finally okay. No more worries. If you haven't felt the warmth of someone else's skin in a long time, what a thing this is. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News.
So a story that has tremendous emotional impact to see it 1 year later. That touch of Jenna's hand. Adrian, talk about that as an image from this body of work.
Well, it stopped us cold when it happened. It was something to behold in person, and I think what was really interesting about that and kind of special about that after is that Samantha Power, the U.S. ambassador from the United Nations, talked about that very moment and talked about our story at the UN General Assembly last year as a way of saying to the world, can we not treat everyone with this disease with the level of dignity that Jenna Kroma received? And Steph here, super sleuth Steph, decided to find out a little bit more about Jenna. We've been sort of quietly trying to follow her since that time. We would love to go back and see how she's doing, because a few months ago she wasn't doing all that well. The stigma persisted, and she was having a hard time with people around her who, even though she's cured, weren't just quite sure what to make of her. So there's a lot more there.
We would love to have that story continue. I'll throw this out, all three of you, and you're welcome to join in. But you spoke last night of talking about this story as one that struck you in terms of the impact Ebola had so many ways on the lives of the people in the country, so emotionally and physically, obviously. But the impact of Ebola, talk a little bit about how that struck you as journalists covering it.
I think it's hard to say, because you can't see where Ebola is coming from, and it's people in Liberia were telling us in a very strange, perverse way they almost missed the Civil War, because then they knew who the bad guys were and they knew where the front line was, and you just never know with Ebola. And the indignities they suffered because the disease is so cruel, but also because of ignorance, are just so unkind. It is such a nasty disease. If you love someone enough to wipe their brow and clean them up after they've been ill, you're the one who's going to get it. And so it just took all these people who loved each other, and I think that was one of the really hard things, because once that happened, they couldn't do what we're doing. They couldn't hang on to each other, and to see that, and then not to be able to sort of, shake their hands or be close to them as journalists is contrary to everything we believe in. We want the attachment to the people we speak with. We don't want to have to stand a safe distance away from them. That's not what we do. So I think, we weren't there a long time, but I'm never going to forget a moment of it.